Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Hyperstamper, and I'm Laura, and I want to show you another wonderful journal that I made. This one is posted on Etsy right now as of July 28th, 2023, and if you subscribe, you can see these journals before they go on Etsy, and also everything I use in my books is all authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. There's no replicas or digital copies, commercially bought, anything. The only thing that is not antique or vintage are the tea-dyed papers that I add. There's only 4 full sheets of paper in each journal that I've added and tea-dyed and hand-stamped myself. So let's take a little journey of this wonderful journal. My favorite part of this one is this came from a book from 1859. Look at that. It's the inside spine that the signatures would have been attached to. It's got the original cloth on it, the original netting and paperback, and the color is to die for. I didn't touch that. And it's mounted on top of a piece of vintage cotton tea towel that I got, and I dyed it using onions. So I did some eco dyeing there on that, and I really love how it turned out. And it's on the back of a vintage book. The vintage book itself was just too plain for me to use alone, so I did cover it up with more spectacular things for you to enjoy. I made these tags and adhered them down. I made them out of antique music sheets from the early 1900s, and I made these flowers out of burlap. And then I just added some more bits of the signature spines here, and I just think it's so pretty. So let's take a look through this book. It's called All the Little Live Things, which is a lovely title for a journal. And so I left those pages in there for you. And then this one here came from an antique book I have, and I forget the name of the book because I kept it for so long because I loved it so much. I lost the title of the book it came from, but it's just a wonderful picture of a woman and a man, obviously in love. Isn't that beautiful? And this is just a little tea-dyed card that I put in, and I made this out of a million different scraps that I have of paper that was so brittle it just crumbled. So I made this little strip, and I'll never do it again because it was really hard, but it's so pretty. So enjoy it if this is your journal in the future. These are 2 receipts from Pearl's shop from the 1950s from Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is a beautiful table doily. It was quite a wide one, and you can see it's this wide and it was quite long, but I just cut it down to make this pocket. And I tucked in 2 tags that I made out of antique paper. This one is of an American flag, and I want to say a British flag, and I should know that, I'm Canadian. And then this one is made out of an antique book, vintage doily, and vintage sewing pattern paper. And even in this one, there's a little word friend I pulled from a book. Here we go. This is just another vintage book page here, probably from that original. Oh no, that's from a sewing book. That's right, neat. And I just made this little paper clip here, put a vintage button and some doilies on it. And this came from a very, very old book, just an advertisement to buy more books from that publisher, Avon Book Company. So I turned it into a journaling card for you to give you more space. That's really interesting. Here we go. And look at these fun little marionette images that came out of a theater arts magazine. I love it. 1955. And there's more of that sewing pattern instruction sheet. And if you want to make another pocket out of this, just add some white glue very carefully down the side and the bottom and let it dry, and you've got a pocket. This came from a vintage botanical book called How to Make a Garden. That was the title, How to Make a Garden. I wish it were that simple. And these images are lovely black and white photographs. I think they are stunning. I did some hand stamping here. And this, I just made a little card here. It did come out of a vintage book. And so I made a card and a pocket out of it. And this is one of my favorite stereoscope cards. It broke my heart to give it up, but I need to start giving away some of the things that I love because my house will fall into the ground if I don't. So Baby and Bunny And of course it's the double image, and in the 1800s they had stereoscopes. It was sort of their version of the Viewmaster, and when you look through it, those are kind of a 2D image. It's so cute. Oh my goodness. I get a lot of requests for bunny images, so I actually forgot this was in here until I pulled this book out today to do the video. And this page here is from the old Peabody Pew book from the early 1900s. That was a journal that sold last year, but I continue to use the pages because they're stunning. Publisher added some wonderful images. Look at this little girl and kitty cat image here. And I pulled this from a title in a book, Stories and People. And in here, oh, that's all mounted on top of a vintage atlas page and a journaling page, but the best part is the other side. It's not a lovely image, and that is also from the early 1920s, that one. And over here, this page here, it says Artistic Notes, and that's from Demarest's magazine from 1893. And I had to rip it off because it actually broke naturally when I tried to pull the page out of the book. It broke, but luckily this stayed intact. And it is mounted on a page from an early 1920s book, Toward the Land We Love, or We Know, I forget. It's also a journal that's for sale now on my Etsy shop. 1930s music sheet and a 1940s children's book page. This one's called Miss Sniff. And this is one about, I don't know if it's still Miss Sniff, but it's got a little bulldog on it. Bulldog? Bull terrier? I'm not sure. Somebody will tell me. More of that music sheet. And then I've got an antique book page back there that's blank, and this lovely pocket I made out of a children's book page from the 1930s. And look at that child looking at the man in the moon. Sorry for the camera shaking. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. And I made this little tiny book out of a page from Three Musketeers, and it's just got a bunch of my scrap papers that you can now journal in. It's a nice little mini journal. This book here is from the 1800s as well. It's in German. Is that cool? I just like how aged it is. And another Pearl Shop receipt here to journal off of, and another one of those Peabody Pews pages. Like, I couldn't have stamped that or bought that better. It's just gorgeous for you to journal on. Lots of space here to journal as well. And this is another page from the Theater Arts magazine with some fun advertisements. A wonderful children's book page. Look at the little police officer in the corner. Isn't that great? This is the book I had on the artist Titian, I want to say, from the 1960s, and it was full of prints. And the prints are back here. And there are 3 pages from the book. So that's for journaling on. And it shows you here that it's from 1967. And look at these wonderful prints. Aren't they lovely? So you can have lots of fun with those. They're tucked back in here. And that is just another wonderful cluster I made out of lots of antique bits. And that's the original cover of the book. I made this little page here, just a little collage with some advertisements and vintage patterns from the early 50s. And this came from a salad book, recipe book. I know that sounds weird, but it's this one here from the 1950s, and it's got recipes on salads. Yep, that's true. True story. Very funny, but very true. And this is from a Sunday Reading for the Young, and it is from 1896. And look at this wonderful image. It says, "A Day in the Autumn Woods." I'm in love with this page, and you will be too. Here is some Monopoly money from the 1930s, one of the very first Monopoly issued sets that came out. And I put a little vintage stamp here on top of this antique book page to make this pocket. And that's a dictionary page from the, I want to say the 40s. Another one of those wonderful children's book pages there. And another, look how great that is. Yeah, and yeah, just more of the little advertisements that came in that festival, arts festival book. And here's another one of those wonderful Theater World magazine covers from 1958, July 1958. And you can see the names of the plays that were on then. And these are some advertisements that were in the back of the yearbook. And just somebody who wrote some things in a book here. I thought it was too precious to throw out. And I made a little double pocket here out of old images from a book. And again, these wonderful textured tag bits, and that's from an old do-it-yourself book. And this came from A Tale of Two Cities, from the front pages, and I thought that would be fun to journal on as well. So there we go. I hope you love this journal as much as I loved making it. And if you want to see more, dozens more of handmade journals I made, go to etsy.com/shop/hyperstamper with a capital H, and don't forget to subscribe.